From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I am Soini Gray. We begin in Cuba, where Miguel Diaz-Canel has been elected as the new president of Cuba after he won 99% of the vote in the new National Assembly of People's Power. Miguel Diaz-Canel will take over from Raul Castro as president of the Council of State. Alina Balcero announced the election results. She is the president of the Electoral Commission.
For elected president, the votes counted in favor of Deputy Miguel Mario Diaz-Canel were 603. This represents 99.83% of the valid votes that were casted.
The new president said it was a great honor to be serving the people of Cuba and that he would be continuing the revolutionary program of his predecessors.
I am honored and excited to accomplish our people's mandate to give our first thoughts to the historical generation that is guiding us to face the challenges that will come. Cuba is expecting from us that we are able, just like them, to fight all the combats that are awaiting.
President-elect Miguel Diaz-Canel also asked the National Assembly to nominate Salvador Antonio Mesa as the first vice president of the Council of Ministers and to postpone the election of the rest of members of the cabinet for the next session.
I would like to propose to the Assembly the following. First, that we postpone until the next session in the National Assembly the election of the Council of Ministers, the government of the Republic. Secondly, that we approve the designation of the first Vice President of the Council of Ministers. We nominate our comrade Salvador Antonio Valdez Mesa, who was already nominated by this Assembly as the next first Vice President of the Council of State. Even though our Constitution does not force us to choose the same person for these positions, we believe this is the best way to give coherence, as it has been done during all these years of revolution.
The first secretary of the Communist Party, Raul Castro, closed the session at the new National Assembly. In his speech, Castro said it was time to let the new generation continue the work of the late commander, Fidel Castro.
On February 24th of 2013, I said this would be my last term as president of the Council of State. I ratified this decision in December when I said here in this assembly that Cuba was going to have a new president. It wasn't necessary to wait for a reform of the Constitution to maintain my word and act accordingly. It was more important to set an example.
As you have heard, the new president secured 99% of the vote. Members of the new National Assembly explained why they believe Miguel Diaz-Canel is the right person for the position.
What we see here is continuity because the Cuban Revolution is an ongoing process. 150 years ago, Céspedes started this revolution in 1868, and José Martí continued it. Fidel Castro followed the example of previous generations that brought us to where we are now, and taught us that unity is a fundamental principle of our society. Younger generations today participate in the social and economic life of Cuba, as well as in political life. We are part of the National Assembly, and we can be part of the State Council. We have a voice and a real political presence. We inherited the process and are continuing the same revolution. That's why we can talk about continuity.
The history of the Cuban Revolution has always been one of continuity. From the Bambises who fought for independence and José Martí, Fidel followed their example and developed their thinking. This is not about personal or political interest. The revolution defends the people's interest, and the people are represented by all these generations. Older generations have the responsibility of supporting and helping the younger ones, and those new leaders that are taking power. This way they can triumph, and the revolution can triumph as well.
Our correspondent Laura Prada has been at the assembly, and she joins us now live on the phone.
Sayini, nice to greet you.
Hi, Laura. Nice to talk to you. Tell me something. What has the mood been like at the closing session of the National Assembly?
Well, Sayini, as we could see and hear through teleSUR English and teleSUR Spanish, Cuba's going president, Raúl Castro, the General of Army, Raúl Castro, he had the closing words of this session of the National Assembly. His speech was a very touching speech, also a very colloquial speech, but also very autocritical of him, of the process of everything. And he was very direct, very sincere in every word he said. During his speech, he talked about the new elected president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, and the new elected first vice president, Salvador Valdez Mesa. And he said about them that Diaz-Canel was not an improvised leader among the party leads and among the assemblies. He came from the ground, from a student leader to directing the party at different provinces of Cuba. And he wasn't his work hasn't been improvised. He's been step by step been growing in his experience and on his work. About Salvador Valdez Mesa, he recognized his value because he was an agricultural worker, a farmer when the revolution triumphed. And in 1961, he enlisted in the revolutionary militias. In 1991, Salvador Valdez Mesa became member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party, and 10 years ago he's been part of its political bureau. Later on in his speech, Raúl referred to the new composition of the National Assembly because he said that the revolution has to work very hard to achieve these results, that the 53.2% of the National Assembly is integrated by women, and that 40% are black and mestizo people.
Yes.
And that more half of the assembly is integrated by people born after the revolution. Yes, you were saying.
No, I was just actually agreeing with you. It's a very mixed National Assembly, and it'll be really interesting to see how Miguel Diaz-Canel will act as the president of Cuba. What have people there been telling you that they expect from the new leadership of Cuba?
Well, Cuba's leadership is secure because as Miguel Diaz-Canel and Raúl on their speech were saying, now the work that has to be done is to fulfill the people of Cuba requests and to work to improve in the economy, to implement that economic and social transformations that have been going on since 2011. And as Raúl said, they should be working even harder than they have done until now, because that process has been going slower than expected, and the continuation of the revolution is secured also, as Raúl and Diaz-Canel said on their speeches.
Thank you so much for this report, Laura Prada. We've been following your report since yesterday, and we appreciate all the information that you've been sharing with our audience. The Venezuelan President, Nicolas Maduro, has congratulated Miguel Diaz-Canel on his election as the new president of Cuba. In a communique, Maduro also expressed his deep admiration for the former president and first secretary of the Communist Party, Raúl Castro. He praised the way he ran Cuba and the way he consolidated the socialist project. Leaders from Russia, Costa Rica, and Bolivia also congratulated the newly elected Cuban president. And in Venezuela, the National Electoral Council has met to discuss how to guarantee that the upcoming presidential election is fair. The Committee of Political Participation and Funding, together with the high-level group representing candidates and organizations, discussed action taken so far. This includes audits, electoral fairs, and scrutiny of the candidates and their campaigns. The CNE confirmed its commitment to the agreement for electoral guarantees, which all candidates must sign up to.
We are working together with the CNE in order to be clear about the work we are doing. We are talking about an electoral process that has 17 audits. It's going to be audited before and after it takes place. We have also talked about what has happened in the past. The obvious thing is that through audits, the electoral process is guaranteed, but some parties have different opinions on what was originally agreed.
Colombia has confirmed the capture of one of the leaders of the Olivier Sinisterra group responsible for attacks in the border area. He's known simply as Brian.
They are accused of direct responsibility for the terrorist acts committed this year in the Guayacana and Lorente region in Colombia. To date, they have committed up to 7 criminal acts against the civilian population and against the authorities.
We're going to take a short break now, but join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. Caribbean leaders have vowed to monitor the UK's response to the scandal of citizens from the Caribbean who have been deported or denied health care because of the UK's faulty immigration policy. Caribbean leaders, ahead of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London, have discussed the cases of the Windrush generation immigrants who arrived in the UK mostly between 1948 and 1971 and were denied the right to become full British citizens. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet was one of the leaders who spoke out after the meeting. He said they will be working with the Caribbean diaspora to ensure that everyone follows up on the promises made by the UK government. He said Caribbean leaders take it that the UK is sincere, that this was a mistake, and that they're incredibly regretful that this has happened. The treatment of the Windrush generation immigrants has provoked anger among many black people in Britain. teleSUR took the pulse in Brixton, long a center of the Afro-Caribbean community.
All I can say is that it's absolutely disgusting. I don't know where they get off. I have no idea where they get off. It's like they take and take and take, you know, from the black people, and then there's no give. You know what I mean? And then if they give any little small thing, they take it back all the time. That's history just shows you that. You just check the record, and that's all you see.
Albert Thompson is not his real name, but he has become a symbol of the Windrush problem currently taking place in the United Kingdom. Albert has been diagnosed with cancer and is being denied treatment because he cannot produce a passport or a visa. He has lived and worked in the United Kingdom since he was 17 and came from Jamaica, which, though independent, is not a republic. That means the Queen is still Jamaica's head of state. UK Prime Minister Theresa May recently said that no one will be denied critical care, but Albert still does not have confirmation of when his treatment will begin. So to discuss this some more, we're being joined live by Jacqueline Cullerton, who started a GoFundMe to raise the £54,000 needed to treat Albert if the NHS won't fund it. Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell me, why were you so moved by Albert's predicament to act and work with Praxis on this particular GoFundMe?
So I read about Albert Thompson's case around 5 weeks ago now, and I just couldn't believe that it could happen, that somebody who needs urgent treatment for a disease like prostate cancer, which is progressive and deadly, has been denied that for 5 months now because of the government's cruel, hostile environment that Theresa May has been, boasting about for the past 5 years. So, yeah, just felt very, very angry about the situation.
So on Tuesday, the UK Prime Minister responded to Albert's case directly, saying that he should be able to receive treatment. I know you're in contact, not directly with Albert, but through his son. What has happened then? Do we still need to have the GoFundMe?
So at the moment, the Prime Minister made that statement. The Royal Marsden Hospital did call Albert, but just spoke about him having a couple of blood tests in 2 or 3 weeks. There doesn't seem to be any mention of treatment. As far as I'm aware, Albert's lawyers still have not heard about that treatment. So Theresa May made that statement without any movement actually having happened.
Now, this was a story that was broken by the UK Guardian, and in their story, they spoke about how Albert actually spoke to them about how stressed the predicament not being receiving treatment was making him. Like we said earlier, I know you don't have direct contact with Albert, but I know you have indirect contact through his son. What has his mood been like, and how is he feeling about all the attention and the fact that you have a GoFundMe and it's pretty much almost fully funded at the moment? How is that making him feel?
Yeah. Well, we do still have almost £10,000 to go. So if anyone wants to donate, then please do. But it's worth saying that before I started the fundraiser, I started a petition, which now has almost 400,000 signatures. So Albert has been, I think I've heard that he's very, very happy to hear of the public's support for his plight. He also, waited to get permission to start that fundraiser from Albert, and he felt that there was a need for it. Again, he's very happy that it's there, but he also is very, very stressed and sad that the government hasn't allowed him to have that treatment for free, which is what he is entitled to. I didn't want to have to start that fundraiser. I waited about 2 or 3 weeks because I wanted the Home Office to respond to the widespread outrage, but it hasn't responded, hence the need for the fundraiser.
Jacqueline, thank you so much for talking to us. We're going to be monitoring this case, and I'm going to share the link to the GoFundMe on my Twitter account, Soini G teleSUR, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much.
In other news now, the Free Lula camp marked 11 days of demonstrations. This Wednesday in the Brazilian city of Curitiba, the campaign has faced pressure from the authorities.
Men and women from all across Brazil are in Curitiba, demanding freedom for Lula da Silva. They have to sleep in this place because of a court order removing them from outside the police headquarters. They have been attacked by fascist groups and say the police is not protecting them. However, they are determined to continue.
Coming here has given us strength. Now there are more people and there have been demonstrations all over the world. This is why we have gained the strength to continue to resist. They were expecting us to go away, and the truth is, we stay here.
A lot of people are still demonstrating near the prison where Lula is serving his sentence. Supporters include artists who have created artworks in support of the former president.
Art is a very important tool in the struggle. It helps transform the pain in hope. We are here to support the struggle, and we use art to do this.
On Wednesday, during a meeting in the Free Lula camp, unions agreed on a day of action for Lula on May 1st, so the unions can add their voice to the call for Lula's freedom.
Social movements hope that Lula will be free before May 1st and that the Supreme Federal Court reverse its decision. If he is still in jail by then, union federations will have a day of action on May 1st. Many union leaders and members have already come here, and we are now calling on the working class to join Lula's defense.
A lot of people will continue to join the resistance in Curitiba up until May 1st.
I have traveled more than 3,000 kilometers to be in this camp, fighting with the people. As a young person and as a Brazilian student, I understand the importance of fighting for Lula's freedom, because it's not just an attack on one person, but an attack on a whole class and on our democracy.
Lula has been in this police building since April 7, and he has had the support of the hundreds of people who have gathered here. They promise they will continue until Lula is free.
The levels of violence currently plaguing Mexico are having repercussions on the electoral process. Since September 2017, electoral hopefuls have had to face open aggression and even murder.
Newspapers are filled with reports of the violent deaths of over 80 candidates for public office from every political party, in particular those standing in local elections.
In states like Guerrero, drug trafficking gangs are becoming increasingly dangerous. In other places like Puebla, Oaxaca, or the state of Mexico, crime is mostly related to fuel theft. And it is only getting worse. What these criminals want is to secure institutional protection at a local level by installing candidates who will work for them.
Attempts to stop the situation have come from different sectors. In Guerrero, church representatives got together with crime lords to plead with them to stop the current wave of murders.
We got them to agree to allow elections to go unimpeded and let the people choose a winner. I've been promised this in a number of regions, that they will not interfere.
Amidst the current climate, the authorities have promised to provide security for candidates who request it.
It's the candidates, and at some point political parties, who must ask for personal protection for whomever is trying to be elected to public office. It's the responsibility of the National Electoral Institute to comply and notify the corresponding institutions.
To this day, there have been 11 security requests, among them 2 by presidential candidates, independent Margarita Zavala and government candidate Jose Antonio Meade. But violence has also reached officials who came to power in previous elections. The National Association of Mayors reported that 74 municipal officials have been murdered so far during the administration of Enrique Peña Nieto.
A massive protest is taking place in Chile as thousands of students take to the streets to demand quality, free education. Our correspondent, Paola Dragnish, has more from Santiago.
There is a huge number of people here spanning several blocks, which is extremely impressive. They've now taken over both sides of a major street here. Chilean police are spraying demonstrators down with water, and the air is becoming difficult to breathe. It's all happening just 30 minutes into the march. This is the first march that President Sebastián Piñera has faced, with a demand for free and quality education. The march will continue here as Chilean students want their demands to be met.
We thank Paul for that report. Back to Brazil, Greenpeace is urging authorities to stop the oil company Total and its plans to drill near the mouth of the Amazon. According to the campaign group, a massive coral reef was found in the area where the French oil company wants to drill 120 kilometers off the Brazilian coast. Greenpeace says the area is a rich habitat for reef creatures and warns that an oil spill would have a tremendous impact on biodiversity, not only in Brazil but also in the wider Caribbean. So time now for another short break, but join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting.
By taking office by our own free conviction in order to keep the loyalty to our country.
Welcome back. Protests continue in Armenia against the government. Here's more on that and some other stories making headlines around the world.
Thousands of demonstrators have rallied in Armenian capital Yerevan to protest against former President Sargsyan becoming Prime Minister. During the march, police detained dozens of anti-government protesters. Armenians have denounced Sargsyan's effort to remain in power as Prime Minister. People accuse him of changing a law to enable him to switch from President to Prime Minister and give himself more power. Japan's Sumo Association has come under fire over sexism after they asked women not to be part of the audience in sumo competitions. In recent weeks, there have been wide criticism over the sport after women providing medical assistance during a competition were asked to leave the ring. In another incident, a woman politician was barred from giving a speech in the sumo ring. She has expressed her frustration.
Sumo is not just for people with particular religious or cultural views. It is a national sport. However, they are treating it as a tradition, and it is discriminating against women.
The top holiday island of Boracay in Philippines has been closed to tourists for 6 months for a massive cleanup. The island, famous for its white sand beaches and water sports, have turned into a cesspit with untreated sewage and mounting rubbish. The island creates over 100 tons of rubbish every day, and a surge of tourists has worsened the problem.
NASA has launched a new satellite telescope to search for new planets. It was launched on board the SpaceX rocket from Cape Canaveral in Florida. The satellite, called TESS, will look for planets around other stars by watching the brightness of the star when the planets pass in front. The telescope is fixed with wide-angle cameras that can scan 200,000 stars near the Sun, ranging from Earth-sized planets to gas giants. And we leave you with this song to the outgoing president of Cuba, Raúl Castro, by the Cuban singer-songwriter Raúl Torres.
Te vimos ancho navegando siempre junto a él, desafiando gigantes que molinos decían ser. Que sepas bien que tu fidelidad nos inspiró. Por eso no te salvará ni Dios de mi canción. Entonces sí, ahora sí puedes ir feliz, confiado de que no serás el último mambí, confiado porque hay millones de brazos con sus machetes aquí.
We've come to the end of this news brief, but for these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telesurtv.net/English. And you can join us on social media on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Sweeney Gray. Thank you so much for watching.